Welcome to Plain Donuts. If you like glazed chocolate or sprinkles, you're not welcomed.
Hi guys, it's your friendly neighborhood space station crew member, Brandon. Welcome to today's episode of the Plain Donuts podcast.
Hey everybody, this is your co-host Alicia with the Plain Donuts podcast. Thanks for tuning in.
Hey, it's your co-host Steve. Welcome to the 34th episode. It's a guests recap episode because Alicia is yet again on vacation. Unbelievable. Anyway, it's the best of the guests. Enjoy the show.
All right, are you guys ready to
same.
clap?
Yep.
Yeah, are we clapping on three? After three?
One,
What are we
two,
doing?
three. Clap on
1,
four.
2, 3, clap.
Great.
Is what we'll do. 1, 2, 3. Cole, you seem to have a lot of celebrity interests.
I do. I told you my life revolves around this kind of crap. Like the amount of celebrity crushes I have is problematic. So
That's how she has 13,000 Instagram followers.
Oh, right.
We gotta just be really into celebrities.
Yeah,
Like
exactly.
obsessively so.
And
We
then
have a
Lin-Manuel
question about
Miranda.
that.
and then occasionally I somehow get in there and they follow me and it's fantastic. So
Oh, nice. Check that
Yeah,
out.
that happened with David Diggs, right?
yeah, I did. That's why I'm
He
saying.
follows you? He follows you on Instagram?
That's why
Yeah.
I'm saying. I'm
Oh
just
my
working my way up, girl, and I'll get you
This is
in.
crazy. My mind is blown right now.
You've never heard this story?
No.
Cole, tell us the story.
Please tell us.
Would you like to hear this? Okay, so I never. Okay, so context. I'm obsessed with Oakland. The Raiders and the Athletics are my team. I'm obsessed with the Bay Area. My dad lived up there when my parents divorced, and so I spent summers up there. And we used to go to games and just always go and visit and stuff. Because what else are you gonna do with your kids who don't know anyone in town except for try and show them a good time at these different places? So I'm obsessed with Oakland, and David Diggs is from Oakland. And in my Hamilton mania and my just general obsession with the Raiders, I was like, I feel like I'm going to do an art collection based on the different people that have come out of Oakland and the successful people that have come out of there and kind of show the diversity. So show David Diggs is the, the Broadway star. And then Shanaka Hodge is the poet and Ryan Coogler's the director and, the guys out of Green Day and just, everyone. So basically I was like, I'm going to draw David first because I was still really into Hamilton at that point, which never goes away, but ever. But so I was starting to draw him, and I never tag anyone in my pictures ever on Instagram because I don't know, I feel like they never check or care or anything. But I had a couple gin and tonics, and I was like, I'm drawing David Diggs and drinking a gin and tonic, and tagged him in it. And I woke up in the morning and I had a couple of responses on it, and I kind of didn't really look at them. I was just like, oh, cool, thanks, guys. And then I saw somebody's who was like the emojis, the screaming face with the fingers pointing up. And I was like, what comment did I overlook? What's happened? And I checked, and it was David Diggs, and he was like, oh, all of these choices are incredibly accurate or impressively accurate or something. I don't know. And he was like, thanks. And I lost my mind, naturally.
Right.
Yeah, of course.
Had a meltdown and was like, oh my gosh, fangirled a whole lot. And then went into my notifications later on that day.
And I bet it blew up, right? It was probably crazy.
Well, yeah. So I went into my notifications just to because sometimes I'll miss stuff and I'm terrible at checking things. And so I scrolled through and was like, oh my gosh, wait, he not only commented and liked the photo, he followed me. And I had the complete meltdown. And then, of course, I was like, oh my gosh, okay, I can't post anything terrible or annoying because what if he unfollows me? And then I would panic and I would go on and make sure that he still followed me because I was like, this is the coolest moment. So we would go on and double check and make sure he was still there. And I was like, why would he unfollow you? You have not posted anything. It's not like he's going to take the time to be like, that girl I followed yesterday, I'm gonna go find her, remove her. So
yeah, never mind that girl.
Yeah, forget that.
Pretty much.
I thought that was cool, but now I had too many gin and tonics.
Yeah,
I need to
I
unfollow.
shouldn't.
Yeah, right. Exactly. I was like, that doesn't make sense. And then Shinaka Hodge is like one of his good friends, and she follows me now because I drew her as well. She follows me now and contacted me and was like, I might want you to she's like, give me your contact information. I might want you to create something for my next book or album cover. And I was like,
what?
Yeah, I'm just gonna like slide into your guys' lives real sly. And you won't know it until you hear this podcast that there was just like a whole plan going on.
Yeah.
Wow, you're the most famous
you're
person
letting
I've
the
ever
secret
met.
out.
Yeah.
You're really letting the secret out.
I
right
know.
now.
It's true.
You might be doing damage to your future career.
I know, I'm just jinxing it. They're all going to be like, oh my gosh, this is so embarrassing. You're never going to meet Lynn now.
Hanging out with these
Dang
scrubs.
it. Wait,
Scrubs
I'm so
like
sorry
us.
we had you on the podcast.
Hey, regardless, I'm still going to London in May, so
Right.
I'm
and
coming
not
for
spending
you.
any time specifically looking
Not
for
spending any time at all specifically looking for men.
I like the way that just trailed off. Beautiful.
Let's see. So we posted about this a couple times, and a friend of mine, Nate, asked Jacob what you post on YouTube, which we kind of already went over a little bit. So
if you want to talk any more about like the content that you post or sort of like the angle that you're going for or anything like that, we can, or we can move on to the next question if you feel like we already covered that.
What do I post? Yeah, I mean, I can go over that. I mostly do. I tend to pick maybe. Okay, if I was smart, I would just pick 2 games. With the amount of time I have, you have to like allocate a certain amount. And the goal is to generally post at least once a day. That makes people come back. You want them to make it like an actual channel and a community where like, oh, I'm going to go check out Night Ghost today. What's he have up? Okay, cool. I'll go check that out. For me, what I post every day, currently I'm doing a game called Banished, which is like a city management kind of game. You bring in people, and I always have to have, and all my peeps are seeing the pipes, but they know it anyway. It's not a big deal. You always have to have something that's different. Otherwise, why are people coming? Right.
Right.
I don't edit my videos heavily. I actually very rarely even edit them. I just record and I talk through that and we just go there. So my thing on like this game Banished, excuse me, the modding community has picked that up and they've made these huge mods. So I use that and I show people how to use that mod or how not to because I screw up and kill everyone. And there's a mechanic in the game where you can like bring in nomads, which are like free labor. And I pull off of I kind of make it a bit of a story thing. And sometimes I'll talk about, I used to play Skyrim. So I'm like, oh, they got banished from Skyrim. So they're going to come in here. Or I'll say, well, our gene pool's incredibly limited. So we need nomads. So we're going to bring them in. But there's big negatives for that. Like they can bring disease. It can really screw up your food. And so my thing is I play on speed 10, which no one does. And I always accept nomads no matter what, like pretty much always. And people come in the comments and you would not believe how much they just freak out. They're like, why on earth? Turn down the game speed. No one can play that fast. And don't accept nomads. You're insane. And they like get into all these numbers about it. So I've been doing that. And then I've also been doing Fallout, which, is like a post-apocalyptic game. But what I do with those in my little niche there is I create a character. And right now I'm playing Milosh, who used to be a Russian spy, and then he was cryogenically frozen, and now he's in the year 2270, I think. So Milosh plays in the wasteland, and he is establishing communist Russia in the Commonwealth near Boston. It's beautiful, so I have all these little settlements that I build up, and that's what I've been doing recently. So that's a little bit of what's going on.
What video did you get your first nasty comment on?
It was one of my first Vengeful Falmer series for Skyrim. It was,
really?
My mic wasn't that great, and they were like, "Oh, your mic sounds like garbage. You're up." Blah, blah, blah. I'm like, "You're really passionate about microphones, I suppose."
So it didn't even have anything to do with the video content at all. Just
it's kind of like those people who go on Amazon and leave like reviews about the shipping. It's like, okay, dude, like
you understand this isn't connected.
Yeah, like this is not like 100% about what this is about.
Yeah,
so.
like maybe you should review Amazon and their shipping methods or the shipper that shipped it to you and not the product itself.
Yeah.
Exactly.
This product was great, but the shipping was bad. 0 out of 10, 1 star. You know, like
0
out of 10 when? What does that mean?
1 star. 0 out of 10.
Oh,
comma, 1 star.
Okay, I was like, that's an interesting rating system you've got going on, Steve.
I made up a very complex rating system. It's 0 out of 10, 1 stars.
There's an x-axis, a y-axis, and a z-axis, and it's somewhere in the middle and here.
And alligator emoji. Okay. So, like, anyway.
Oh my gosh.
So what was that just the fact that the community sort of like regulated without you having to be like, oh, get out of here?
No,
was
I mean, a couple people I could tell like were just making comments out of frustration of the way I was playing. And they weren't being nasty. They're just antisocial people on the internet. So sometimes I'll address them directly and go, hey, thanks for the feedback. What do you think about this? And sometimes I'll actually reply. I found with YouTube, it's community-based. So you generally don't find a group of people, unless they're being really vindictive, that follow all your videos that are different content. So like I'm playing Banished with city building. There's a very vivid community there. Vibrant, I guess. That's not vivid. They're not vivid. They're vibrant. But they're very particular. They're like, Night Ghost. Hold on. I should do this in the proper voice. Hold on.
Night Ghost, you should really build your farms in 9x9 squares with one person working it and having a storage facility right next to it. That's the most optimal way to get your wheat.
And I'm like, what? I'm really sorry I used a 10x10 square. I'll work on that.
Yeah. Gosh, didn't you know that that's the only way that it has to be done?
Sounds like you need to chill out. Maybe figure out the most optimal way for you to get some weed. Just joking. Take the floor,
Take
Martha.
Thank you, Sugars, for having me on your little podcast. I appreciate your gnome being here. It's been wonderful to be a part of your community. I love donuts. Don't give me sprinkles. Keep them plain.
From Rachel W.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. Why did you write the book? I guess I got an interesting question.
Yeah. Why did I write that book?
And then how did you start writing, I guess?
So I would wonder, was Dawn's Hill your first completed novel? Is
yes.
that okay?
Yep.
So, and do you remember what drove you to write it to start with?
Yeah, actually, I remember exactly the day that I started drafting it. I went and had dinner with a friend of mine who's also a writer, and we just met for dinner to talk about writing, which we do all the time, and she told me a really weird thing that happens to her sometimes where she feels a presence sitting on her bed, like at night at home. And she was like, they don't scare me. It's just a thing. I guess they're spirits. Maybe they'll move on, whatever. And I thought that was the coolest thing. Yeah. So then later, of course, when I'm laying in my bed, I'm like, what was that? Was that a cat getting on the bed? So I was laying in bed and I just started thinking about that scene, that beginning scene. What had originally been the beginning scene. And the first line of my first draft was, someone was sitting on my bed. And so I actually got out my phone and couldn't sleep and started writing that first scene. And I had come up with the concept of Dawn's Hill a couple of months before and had been trying to fiddle with a plot. And it was a completely contemporary romance with no fantastical anything and no dead bodies. And I just had what's
a book without some dead bodies?
I just kind of had, that kind of a plot, and then I had come up with the town of Dawn's Hill and was trying to mush them together, and it wasn't working until Danielle told me that story, and then it really sparked it and got me to start writing Dawn's Hill. So
one thing I'd be curious about from that is how long was it from that moment until your release date last week, right?
Oh.
Friday. You don't have to remember specifically the number of days, but
like in months maybe.
Yeah.
Or years.
Yeah. So that was probably late. early summer 2015, probably.
Okay.
And then it got published in February 2017.
So
under
about
2 years.
about a year and a half or so,
Yeah.
maybe a little longer than that.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's a really good timeline,
yeah.
actually. That's pretty fast.
Well, yeah. I mean, once I started writing Dawn's Hill, I got the first draft done in 8 weeks.
So, I'm sorry, I keep asking like leaving questions that branch off from the original, but what would you say? Because a lot of authors will write a thing, and it will be really bad because it's their first thing, but they finish it and they think it's great and want to like shop it out, and nothing ever comes of it, right? And so they have to write another thing and maybe another and all these other things to actually get any attention from anyone at all. What do you think it was in your case just luck that happened to get you that, or I don't think that's fair really, because I'm sure you probably care about the craft and like have a good understanding of that, and I'm sure you did work to get it noticed, right?
Yeah.
So what separated you from the person who has to struggle through 7 novels before they get published?
I have no idea, but I will say that Dawn's Hill was my first completed novel, but it wasn't the first thing I'd ever written. I have written a lot, and I've gotten writing training in different areas of writing. So I've taken classes in nonfiction writing and fiction writing. I was a journalism major for like a semester. I worked for the school paper at our high school. And so it's something I've been working on for a really, really long time. And so Dawn's Hill, I think, happened to be the first project that I finished, and maybe because I had been working on it for so long, it actually came out good. I was shocked. Like, I gave it to a bunch of people to read, and I fully expected them to be like, that was a great first try. Maybe query your 5th one. And let's put this in a drawer and never think about it. But, I mean, I guess the classic, like, your mileage may vary, you know, like everybody works differently, everyone grows at a different pace. I think if you want to get better and you want to get better fast, that you have to really commit to it, and that's all the advice I can offer.
Hey, welcome to the middle of what is going to be a short-ish podcast. We don't have a lot of previous guests, but just enough to fill some space and give you a little bit of a recap. I hope you're enjoying it. We'll get back to that shortly. Quickly wanted to notify you, if you haven't heard this podcast before, you can always find this and other episodes at yourplaindonuts.com. That is YOUR, plaindonuts.com. And if you're interested in any of the episodes that these clips came from today, you can find episode 34 on yourplaindonuts.com, and all those will be linked there much more easily than I could describe them here for you. So, also, on that same website, yourplaindonuts.com, you can find links to all of our social media. That's Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. On Facebook and Twitter, we always announce when we're looking for questions, comments, anecdotes, whatever, around that week's theme, which we can then read and respond to later on the podcast for recording, and then you will be featured on that week's episode. So always, if you respond at Facebook and Twitter, you're much more likely to have your questions answered if you respond through the official Plain Donuts channels. So also on yourplaindonuts.com, you can find a link to our iTunes page. Any episode listing will have a link there. It's always super helpful, if you haven't before, for you to go leave a rating and a review on iTunes. The reason that's helpful is it just gives us visibility to Apple, who maybe will someday put us in the new and noteworthy section and get us a really cool influx of traffic, which would be nice, lovely, wonderful. And really, that's a helpful thing you can do, but the most helpful thing, as I always say, is for you to just share the podcast with a friend. Tell a friend about it that you think might like it, and maybe they'll tell a friend, and maybe they'll tell a friend, and suddenly we have a really successful, wonderful podcast that everybody loves and enjoys and has a good time making. So, Anyway, we already love and enjoy it and have a great time making it. So I don't know what could be gained from that other than more people in the party. Anyway, thank you again for listening. We really appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts. We love you very much. Thank you, Donut Holes. Enjoy the rest of this short show.
My brother-in-law, who's a regular listener, his name's also Chris. He said, "What are some good dual sport motorcycles, and about how much do they cost?" He said he's looked into a few.
Dude, you can get dual sports for really cheap. Like, if you're looking into getting into motorcycling, they're probably the cheapest ones to get that aren't like beginner bikes. Like the Kawasaki KLR, you can get one of those all day for like $2,500. The one I ride, the XR650L, a good one's like $3,500. Any more than that, you're buying a bike that's probably too shiny to take off-road anyway. But
how much, when you think about like getting started, because you said before you moved to Arizona you didn't really ride at all. So getting started, how much training do you think is wise for a person to do about generally how to ride a motorcycle on the street? And like, would you say
before they go and climb a mountain?
Right, yeah.
Actually, I mean, I hadn't ridden off-road before I moved here, but I had been riding for probably 7 years.
Okay.
So I have on-road experience, but I mean, I think you need at least one riding season and at least a year of riding experience before going off into the desert like I do by yourself, for sure.
Yeah.
But that being said, I think a lot of people do just start off-road. So, like, if you're riding off-road with your friends and that's, like, the first time you're riding, it's not bad because you're in a controlled environment, right? Because there's no traffic. You're not worrying about making those decisions, navigating traffic lights. It's just you riding on trails. So it's arguably the safest way to start, I think.
Cool.
Nice.
Would you say that, like, dual sport is, like, the best way for somebody to just start riding motorcycles, or do you think like getting a street bike would be better first, or how do you, I don't know. I don't. These are things that
I literally have no idea about anything with motorcycles. So
I think if you live in the Southwest, like Arizona or Utah, dual sport probably is the best way because they're not fast enough to like get you in trouble, like wreck and stuff, but you can also go off road and then you can experiment with those different types of terrain. So it's probably a really versatile, cheap way to get started if you have access to off-road areas. If you don't have access to off-road areas, I think like a 250 street bike is probably better just because they're smoother on the road. There's not as much wind resistance when you're riding.
right.
So yeah.
Cool. I've been slowly trying to convince my wife that I should get a motorcycle to drive to, because I drive to a train stop every day that's maybe 3 or 4 miles from my house, and then so just go there and back, and I'm like, I could save on gas, and it wouldn't be like a big deal to just like ride there every day, and it wouldn't be too dangerous because it's just like slow roads the whole way. So but she does not like that idea, but we're working on it. The first question was from my friend Rory, who traditionally has been a troll of this podcast, but today asked
He did ask a really good question.
a very thoughtful question that I was like, this is awesome. Thank you, Rory. I appreciate your change in mindset. Anyway.
Don't scare him away. He's acting nice to us now.
It's like when the bully from the playground starts like being your friend.
And you're like, why is this? What's happening?
I don't know what's happening, but I'm okay with this. I think I'm okay with this. No. He says that we should ask you about like growing a YouTube channel and also how you feel being financially connected to a platform that's constantly changing its policies and how that may impact you as a creator. So I guess that's sort of 3 questions.
Yeah.
I had another question that was a little bit more specific about growing a YouTube channel from my friend Sean. He said, what are some initial hurdles small channels have to scaling their videos and how do you overcome them? So yeah, a couple of questions about growth first off. I know that the Shonduras vlog just recently reached 1 million, right?
Yep.
And right around the same time, the space station stuff, a million subs on YouTube is I guess I should clarify that, and 100,000 subs on the space station stuff too,
Yeah.
right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was really nice. It was really awesome. It was a big milestone for us. I really should put out there that I wasn't around when we were growing this channel.
Uh-huh.
It had already been quite established when I joined the Space Station crew, so I might not be able to address fully those questions about
Sure.
growing a channel or starting a channel, but I can throw out some little tidbits that I've learned in my time here.
Sure. So that question about like initial hurdles might be like,
Yeah, I mean, the hardest thing about, I think, starting a channel really is, you have to think about it, is that there are hundreds, if not thousands, of channels that are trying to get out there,
Right.
that are starting up every day. And so it really is just finding your niche, being dedicated to it, going out there, putting out a video. I don't know if you want to do it every day, but pretty consistently, and just learning the system, learning the YouTube algorithm, learning how to work it in your favor, and then just, making a voice for yourself. And I mean, it might not happen, it might not take off the way you want it to, but just being random or just hoping for luck.
yeah.
It works for some people, but
Yeah.
that's a very small percentage.
So I guess to sort of put in a box what you said, find a niche and be consistent with producing content in that niche, and find your voice therein. Right?
Exactly.
And I think that's something that Friday mentioned too.
Yeah.
When because he does motorcycle vlogs, so he's, I don't know, his is very like cinematic motorcycle vlogs, and that's
Yeah.
like all he does. And you guys kind of do like this really fun.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like watching your videos. Just 'cause
thank
it's
you.
like really fun. I don't know. It's just like watching your friends do silly things.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just appreciate that.
And it's nice for us because it means we can go into several different avenues. I mean, Sean and Parker both are big into skateboarding. Is really into computers. I'm really into video games and movies. Holiday's really big into business. So that's not fun at all, but that's really all I know that he liked. Anyway,
Who's
oh, I'm sorry. Chicken.
Tall Chicken?
Tall
Tall
Chicken.
Chicken.
I'm sorry. Every once in a while, his real name
No.
pops out. So
I was
if
like,
you would
who's-
censor that.
Who is
Do you want me to censor
No,
it? Is that
okay.
a
I mean, you
We
can
can bleep
censor it. It'd be
it.
funny.
Yeah.
But,
I just didn't recognize. I was like, who's?
I know.
You're saying names. I'm like, okay.
I was
Wait,
like,
who is
who's
this
this
random?
person?
Who is
Like,
this
does
guy?
he work in a closet? Like,
And just in the
Behind
corner.
the scenes.
just
Yeah.
alone in his computer closet.
He would actually probably be very content in a computer closet, just
Awesome.
alone.
Yeah,
He is
that's funny.
a very funny guy like that.
I
But
think it's really interesting too, like how kind of widely varied the personalities of space
Yeah.
station stuff is. Like in particular, you guys have like a lot of different like personalities that affect that. Like it's just I could go through a few of them and off the top
I
of my
think
head.
I can
but-
even just tell by the way like something is specifically like edited or laid out. You're like, oh, someone different did this rather
Right.
than this.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah, I mean, we try and have a consistent voice through it because it's Sean's channel, it is his voice. But there's definitely a unique flair if, say, Chicken edits the vlog versus Parker editing the vlog versus me editing the vlog.
So that's a good. You guys have 3 total editors.
Mhm. Yep.
Okay, cool. Does Sean ever do any of his own editing?
As far as I know, no. He'll every once in a while he'll review the vlogs,
Yeah.
right before they go up, and he'll make little tweaks himself and jump in there and make the edits that
Yeah.
he's like, I want this cut here, and copy and paste this.
Yeah.
But no, for the most part, his job is to film and be the personality and connect with brands and connect with people, and our job is to make that look cool and put it on YouTube.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Okay, that's it. I hope you enjoyed the episode. We'll see you next week with a brand new edition hopping fresh out the kitchen. All right. See you later. Bye.